Welcome, everybody, to the award-winning RotoWire Fantasy Basketball podcast brought to you by RotoWire's free trial at rotowire.com/pod, not to mention Edge Boost and Pool Genius. It is Friday, February 14th, 2025, Valentine's Day. I know somebody out there is like, oh, man, it is Valentine's Day, isn't it? But All-Star Weekend is also coming up. For those who celebrate the All-Star Weekend. I know Ken doesn't. Ken, who could have guessed? I don't even know if I remember mention our names. Alex Barutha with Shannon McEwen and Ken K-Train Kreitz.
All aboard.
So we had Daniel Gafford get an official diagnosis with a grade 3 MCL sprain. He is expected to miss at least 6 weeks. So, and we also have Anthony Davis out 3 weeks with an adductor strain. Derek Lively is out about 2 months. It seems like there's a chance that all three of these guys could essentially come back like late March, early April at the same time. But Dallas is actually plus money to make the playoffs now. They are not expected by the odds to make the playoffs. Dwight Powell also out for those who like to acknowledge Dwight Powell. We had 6'7", not 7'6". Olivier Maxence Prosper is the current starting center. And then we have a 7-foot rookie two-way player, Kyler Kelly, coming off the bench. Ken, what is happening here?
I'm scared of what your question is. Well, number one, if you're a Kyrie manager, he's just going off as of late, which makes sense, right? A lot of rebounds for guys like Max Christie, who's going to get a ton of minutes in this injured lineup. I think we're going to touch on him later. Not a good time for PJ Washington to also be dinged up. I think, he played some center in Charlotte days.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how serious his ankle injury is, Alex. Do you know how bad is PJ's injury?
It's he was essentially day to day. It seems so. I think he'll be back after the break, but it's not confirmed.
Yeah, it certainly seems like that. And I would argue immediately. I mean, there are no centers on this roster or no NBA caliber centers. PJ Washington will be the starting center as soon as he's healthy enough to play.
How about Kessler Edwards, too, getting 40 minutes? Is he on a two-way with them? I think he's two-way as well.
Yeah, he is.
I remember him from his Nets days. Anyway, it's fun. They're playing fast, up-tempo basketball, now that they don't have that terrible, out-of-shape Luka in the lineup. So they're fun to watch. They're pushing the pace. They don't, but... it does seem like when it rains, it pours for those poor Maverick fans, doesn't it?
But yeah, I mean,
to
your point about like PJ Washington potentially coming back, I don't think any of us have Dallas players as our Dallas bigs as our waiver wire suggestion, right? Dallas forwards, because PJ Washington's coming back. If he plays center, then you get more Najee Marshall, but Marshall's pretty rostered in a lot of places. So the All-Star break, I think, will solve a lot of injury issues for a decent amount of teams. A lot of guys sat the last day or two before the break. Shannon, let's go to Golden State.
Yeah, let's do that. All right. Golden State Warriors coach Steve Kerr says Brandon Podziemski deserves to be in that starting group now. And he also said that Podziemski will be a starter for the foreseeable future, I believe was the quote. We've heard this from Kerr before. We'll see. Podziemski has been very solid, though. Is this going to stick? I don't know. Will Buddy Hield come in, make some spot starts? He's currently on the bench. Thursday night, Pods started in the win over the Rockets, and he led the team with 38 minutes. And he put up 18, 5, and 4 with 4 steals and a block. Podziemski is rostered, I believe, at about 60% of Yahoo leagues right now, but very under rostered on ESPN, under 25% on ESPN. I thought about discussing him for the waiver wire, but a little bit too heavily rostered for Yahoo for us to do that. But he is certainly worth a pickup for however long that foreseeable future lasts.
Agreed. And we'll just see. It is random how Kerr sticks with things. I dove deeper into this quote. I'm not sure he really implied for this season. We'll see. Our notes writer may have been a little aggressive there, but Pods has played well, and we'll see how long this sticks.
Well, I mean, part of it, to Shannon's point, Kerr is always just saying like, oh yeah, this guy's a starter now. This guy's this guy's that. And then the next day it's like DNP. I forgot who it was. It Trace Jackson? Yeah, Trace Jackson.
I was going to say Trace
like
Jackson.
A rant. Yeah. Now he's getting DNPs again, and he got a DNP earlier in the season, and that was like that. Caused us to freak out as like projections at RotoWire. We're like,
they got to start Quentin Post. Quentin Post really needs to start.
And this was in December. Then he plays 15 minutes in the next game, and then he's in the starting lineup 3 days later. It's like you really just don't know. And we're talking about Podziemski. Jonathan Kuminga is going to come back eventually, right? And then what happens? So it's just we'll see. We will certainly see. Ken, we do have some just good old positive news coming out of the NBA. Oh.
Former number 1 pick Markelle Fultz is back in the NBA as a backup point guard for the Kings. The Kings dealt Fox. They also dealt Navion Mitchell. So they really lack true point guards. Fultz hasn't played in the NBA since May of last season. And as a Boston Celtics fan, every time I hear the words Markelle Fultz, I just want to say, thank you, Philadelphia 76ers, for gift wrapping Jason Tatum and another first rounder for us Bostonians in that dreaded 2017 pre-draft trade for Fultz. Thank you, Philly.
Like a true Celtics fan, how does X news relate to Boston Celtics? Every time.
What other sexiness am I going to add to the Markelle Fultz news?
That is true.
It was make fun of Philly or only have 2 news points to start the pod. That was what I was as I write the notes. Yeah.
All right. So for some zest, Ken, what sort of, how deep of a league are you in to where you just might be considering this before he even steps on the court? Because we haven't seen him.
16-teamer, 18-teamer. I mean, he's not going to hit threes, right? You have to be assist desperate. I don't think his stocks were particularly good either that time in Orlando. We also don't know how healthy he is. It wasn't like, I looked it up. I was like, oh, was he playing G League game somewhere? No, he's just rehabbing. So he's kind of returning from injury. Yeah. So my expectations are just tiny. And DeRozan and Levine are going to have the ball in their hands quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you got to be in like an 18-teamer to even really think about it, because they have Keon Ellis, who they like, and Kevin Carter, is a good defender, and
Carter's young. They want to develop him, and he's more of a more point guard than Keon. Yeah.
Okay. Ken, do we have some listener questions that we can
Yes, let's go to the questions. We'll start with whoever got in here first. P-Dub, he's in a 10-teamer. Someone dropped Andrew Wiggins. Is he worth a claim? 10-team league. Would you drop Shaedon Sharpe of the Trailblazers to get Wiggins?
What do you think, Shannon?
It's a tough one because we haven't really had much of a chance to see kind of what Wiggins is going to do in Miami. He's played 2 games for the Heat so far. He sat out last night's game against Dallas. In those 2 games, Wiggins did start both, played 30 minutes or more in both games, so 30 and 34 minutes. I mean, with that's really heavy run. He was routinely playing under 30 minutes. There are plenty of games this season where he would play under 30 minutes, especially before the Kuminga injury in Golden State. His role did pick up after Kuminga went down. But, I mean, with 30-plus minutes, it looks like that's going to be on tap every night. If he's playing 32, 33 minutes, I'm keeping Wiggins. Or I'm picking him up and using him over Sharpe. Sharpe's just, his role's been too inconsistent. Even the other night, the Portland Trailblazers they had like, I think 8 active players or 8 players who were in the rotation, and they started Chris Murray over Sharpe. So it's just hard for me to understand what Chauncey, Mr. Big Shot Billups, is doing in Portland. But with Sharpe, if he's going to continue to come out off the bench, even when they're shorthanded, then he's just not worth much in a 10-team league. So I go Wiggins over Sharpe.
Excellent insight, Shannon. Thank you, Alex. Let's go to you for this one from Kool-Aid Trippin'. Would you trade, Mark Williams for Rocket Torrey Eason?
Any Mark Williams question is going to come with like more of a list of caveats than an actual answer. I don't think I would trade Mark Williams for Eason right now. Partially because Eason, we this is a very pro Eason podcast. Good luck finding a more pro Tari Eason podcast. And he has been starting. He's playing pretty well.
Hasn't been playing in back-to-backs, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's still working through this leg thing, and Jabari Smith is eventually going to come back, possibly after the All-Star break, as was hinted at. So I think the upside of Mark Williams is just too much to ignore, even if he does end up sitting out back-to-backs and playing like 24 minutes a game because of whatever injury. Who even knows at this point? I would hang on to Mark Williams.
Is there a legit chance that the association forces this trade to go through? Like, what's the protest Charlotte's doing?
My assumption is they're going to have at least one, possibly more independent doctors, right? I don't really know how you would do anything aside from that.
And can those guys play while this review is taking place? I thought I saw Necht was available for the Lakers.
Connect was, yeah, because I think it's an active. I don't know. This is basically unprecedented. It's not unprecedented that a trade's been rescinded because that happened. I think that happened with the Pistons, Shannon, a couple years ago with like a Golden State trade.
Domantas Matajunas, one of a old-time RotoWire 3 Amigo favorite of the pod,
yes.
Back in his Rocket days. And I was looking at that the other day and discussing with some fellas in the office. Matajunas, yes, he was traded from the Rockets to the Pistons. That trade was rescinded after the physical, and it was the same scenario where it was rescinded post trade deadline. So they can make any adjustments to the deal. And hilariously enough, Matajunas ended up signing an extension, or he re-signed with the Rockets that following offseason. So I guess they liked him more than they thought they did at the deadline.
All right, Shannon, this is for you. A question at center. Goga Batista or New Orleans Pelican Karlo Matkovic?
Oof, that's a tough one. Yeah.
Goga's been putting up a lot of blocks, but not scoring since his injury return.
Yes. And Matkovic, one of the reasons why I like him is because of his blocks upside. We're going to discuss him a little bit more later. But right now, I'm sticking with Goga. I think it's fairly close, but I just need Matkovic's role is kind of to be determined. If Yves misses time post All-Star break, then Karlo is going to see significant run, and he is blocking the hell out of the ball right now. But right now, I have to go Goga until we learn more about Missy's injury.
Fair enough. All right, let's see. Scanning questions. Somebody dropped Fred VanVleet in my league. His worst players are Barrett, Cam Johnson. Would you drop either of those two for Fred VanVleet?
I might drop Cam Johnson for Fred VanVleet. Yeah, I don't really.
Barrett.
What?
You'd rather have Barrett? Is it just games played with Cam?
Yeah, I mean Cam, I don't really trust him to be playing a lot down the stretch. Although RJ Barrett obviously is going to have some of those same concerns, but Barrett's having I think Barrett. I don't know actually what the fantasy values say, but Barrett's having a fantastic year. I mean, if you're depending on what categories you need, Barrett might be more valuable than Johnson. But I think the question is it's just more so like Fred VanVleet is playing so badly that people are dropping him.
The field goal percentage has gone from scary to really scary.
Yeah, I would try to pick him up. He's prone to some bad games, but I don't know. I understand why you're asking this question.
Strong opinion on this, Shannon?
Yeah, I'm picking up Freddie VanVleet, and I am dropping. It is a close one, but I am going to drop Cam Johnson. I think VanVleet's going to have more overall value once he returns, and it certainly sounds like there's a good chance that'll happen after the All-Star break. VanVleet's going to slide right back into the starting point guard role for the Rockets. You know, one thing that doesn't that's kind of been unsaid. You've got Amen Thompson playing great, but he was already starting before VanVleet's injury. He was already in there for Jabari Smith. And with, the Rockets were winning more with Freddie V in the lineup. They haven't been winning as much with Thompson running the point. So there's not going to be like some position battle or anything like that. Freddie VanVleet will immediately be the starting point guard again. Thompson will still get over 30 minutes of run per night, even after Jabari returns. But VanVleet warrants a roster over a guy like Cam Johnson.
And as bad as VanVleet has been playing this year, relative to expectation, he's still ranked 66th per game in 8-cat. He's still a very valuable fantasy player.
Absolutely. Tons of threes with 2.7 threes per game, 1.6 steals. The field goal percentage has been bad. The assist and scoring not as high as it's been the last couple of years, but still very, very worthwhile a roster spot.
All right, and let's end on this free agent pickup question. Gentlemen, Max Strus or George Minivan Niang from your waiver wire? Clearly, this guy needs threes.
This is a tough question. I think that Niang has a higher minutes ceiling just because of where Atlanta is in the standings and maybe like what I don't know, because I don't know what Atlanta's goal is. Can they even fall far enough to get out of the play-in? I also asked that question. I actually don't think they can.
No, they can't.
I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
Because
Washington's like, oh no, you are playing in that play-in.
Well, they're immediately below Miami and Orlando. So Atlanta's in the 9 seed, and they're above Chicago, but they have 4 more wins than Chicago already, and Philly's in 11th at 20, and obviously they have. When they're healthy, they're going to play better. So I don't even think Atlanta can technically fall out. I don't know. Do you have strong feelings on this, Shannon? Because I think there are arguments for both sides, which I think is why he's asking the question.
Yeah, there certainly are arguments on both sides. Strus has been locked in the starting lineup. The fact that he started on Wednesday after a 1-game absence, DeAndre Hunter started a game, but Strus was still able to get back into the starting lineup the following game. So Strus is pretty locked into his role, but I also think he's been playing a little bit over his head the past couple weeks. And I'm going Niang because I think he's going to have a significant role for the Hawks moving forward.
That does not speak well to Vit Krejci.
You muted yourself, Shannon. Oh, your mic is not connected.
We have lost Shannon. I apologize to the greater podcast world. We're going to straighten that out.
It's quite all right. They'll be okay. Don't worry. I'm going Niang. I actually think he's going to be able to play a pretty significant role for the Hawks moving forward, given the injury to Jalen Johnson and the pieces that they traded away at the deadline.
Okay, well, that does it for fan feedback. Alex, will you tell us about our new friends over at Pool Genius?
Pool Genius, baby. Want to win more in your golf, March Madness, and football pools? Pool Genius gives you data-driven picks and strategies to outsmart the competition. With over a decade of analytics and historical data, Pool Genius is the only site dedicated exclusively to helping people win sports pools, with Pool Genius users winning 3 times more often than expected. RotoWire listeners get exclusive offers. Visit poolgenius.com/RotoWire for up to 55% off or start a 4-day free trial. That's poolgenius.com/RotoWire.
That's poolgenius.com/RotoWire. Alex, take us to the waiver wire.
The waiver wire. As always, we are going to do 3 waiver wire picks each. At least one of these will be for deep leagues, so rostered in fewer than 25% of Yahoo leagues. We do have the short week upcoming because the All-Star break starts today, Friday, Valentine's Day. So next week, there are 8 teams with 3 games. The rest have 2. I think the Kings have 1 game. So keep that in mind when you're making your waiver wire pickups. But I will kick things off with Max Christie of the Dallas Mavericks, who is 40% rostered in Yahoo leagues. In 6 games with the Mavericks, he's averaging about 17 points, 5 boards, 3.5 assists, 2 stocks in 34 minutes. It's about 32 fantasy points a game. We talked about it at the top of the show, but this roster is really thin right now. They're going to get PJ Washington back probably after the break, but they're leaning on Christie as a usage guy. I mean, this team does not have a lot of reliable ball handlers. I know Dante Exum just came back, but Christie's a talented wing player who is a strong defender, and should be in the rotation basically no matter what. Not if not just for the optics of playing this guy 30 to 35 minutes a game and letting him cook a little bit. But I think the main negative I would point out about Christie is shooting a little bit over his head right now, 46% from 3. Obviously, that's not real, but I still think this is a guy who has to be rostered in 12-team leagues for the time being, even if he fades a little bit more into like the 14-team range later in the year.
You know, what I was thinking on Max Christie before last night's game, I'm like, well, come on, Dante Exum shouldn't be a starter. Weird side note, Exum explodes for 27 points last night. That win over the Heat. Christie still started, played 39 minutes. Man, 39 minutes, and had a great game himself. Love the Max Christie advice. If you guys don't mind, I'll go ahead with mine. But before so, fans, if you like our videos, please hit like and subscribe below on the YouTube buttons. We would greatly appreciate it. All right, I'm going to go with our cover guy this week. Bol Bol, son of Manute Bol, for the Phoenix Suns, rostered in 33% of Yahoo leagues. Bol Bol has started the last 2 games for this dysfunctional Suns. Over his last 4 games, 16 points, 7 rebounds, 3.3 blocks, and 2.3 triples. Look, Phoenix is 26 and 28. Kevin Durant and the Suns seem intent on a divorce this summer. The Bradley Beal situation's a mess. Who knows how these next few months are going to go for Budenholzer and the Suns? Why not give Bol Bol a crazy run? I mean, if you're hungry for blocks, it seems like a great move to make, and he's always going to shoot those fun-to-watch 3-pointers just like his old man used to chuck from the half-court line. There's a YouTube Manute Bol 3-pointers. There's a glorious highlight reel of Manute Bol draining threes.
If someone, and God forbid, woke up from a coma and was listening to this podcast and they heard you talking about Manute Bol, they'd be like, "Oh my God, it's February. It must be February or March." They're talking about Bol Bol. But I mean, they clearly are having issues in their front court, I think, to say the least. Maybe not getting what they wanted out of Nick Richards. And they just Plumlee and Iguodaro are not. Budenholzer clearly does not like them that much. So give Bol Bol a chance.
It can't last, but it's fun while it does.
Yes. He is a streaming option. I am skeptical that it'll be a long-term play for Bol Bol. Kenny asked Bol Bol or Clingan. We're going to talk Clingan here in a couple minutes. The answer's Clingan. Bol Bol, he received a spot start. Kevin Durant was out for a game. He got some minutes over Nick Richards in the second half of a game, but he also stunk it up in the most recent game. The last game before the All-Star break, he wasn't that solid. So Bol Bol's playing time will be yanked as soon as he has a couple poo-poo platters out there for us to dissect. So do not get to it. He's worth a stream, but if you're considering Clingan or Bol Bol, go Clingan. All right, my first recommendation of the week is Quentin Grimes, swingman for the Philadelphia 76ers. 18% roster on ESPN, 7% rostered I'm sorry, 18% on Yahoo, 7% on ESPN. Grimes had a monster outing in his first career start for Philly, finishing with 30 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and 4 3-pointers in 36 minutes against the Nets on Wednesday. Embiid and Maxey both sat out Wednesday's game against Brooklyn. But Grimes has been solid in a reserve role first 3 games with the Sixers as well. In total, 4 games since trade deadline, Grimes is averaging 16.8 points, 6.3 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 2.3 threes in 33 minutes per game. Good enough to be a top 75 player over on a per game basis over that stretch. He'll see heavy minutes even when in a reserve role. But I think there is a chance he sticks in the starting lineup after the All-Star break, even with Maxey and Embiid returning. If I'm picking between Grimes and Christie, their stats are pretty similar since the trade deadline. I'm going Christie. It is Christie is my he is my default option between those two. But both of them seem to have landed on their feet, their new destinations, and will have meaningful fantasy production probably for the remainder of the season.
Grimes was a good steals guy, but for some reason didn't get him in Dallas as much. I don't know if they had just a different defensive approach or what, but yeah, Philly's like the Suns, right? Who knows how that dysfunctional season's going to end for the Sixers?
In the play-in by default in the conference. Yeah.
Forced play-in.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to my next suggestion. A team that will not make the play-in, the Washington Wizards. Bub Carrington, 20% rostered. We've been talking about Bub Carrington for like 3 months. You can stash this guy, after the trade deadline. It's going to be good. We're here, and he's 20% rostered. I don't know how this is happening. But past 5 games for Carrington, 16 points a game on 57% shooting. Obviously, that's going to come down, but still 6 assists a game, 5 rebounds in 36 minutes a game. I think you just got to roster Bub Carrington. Even if his field goal percentage goes to a normal level, 40 or 45%, he's still going to give you 13 points a game, 5-6 assists, 4 or 5 rebounds. And he's playing huge minutes. That's someone that I just think you have to roster, especially through March and April.
What the heck do the Wizards do with Malcolm Brogdon and Marcus Smart after the break?
They're mentors.
What do they do with those guys?
That's what they said. They said Middleton and Smart are mentors. And Middleton. Don't forget
Are they going to be in coach's clothes on the sideline there?
Middleton and Brogdon reunited. It's beautiful. I can't wait to see it on the court.
All right, well, let's go with my second pick, who really is probably should be the top. I mean, feel free to protest, you guys, but I think the top pickup for this waiver wire week, Donovan Clingan, center for the Portland Trail Blazers, rostered in 35% of leagues on Yahoo. Forgot to check ESPN. I'm sorry. Here's the news. DeAndre Ayton is out at least 4 weeks with a calf injury, probably longer. Clingan started Wednesday night, put up a 17-point, 20-rebound, 3-block game against the Nuggets. This ought to be a Wally Pipp type situation here. Robert Time Lord Williams will always be hurt. He's the backup center now for the Trailblazers. We're going to be looking at some crazy run for Donovan Clingan. Who deserves it? The rookie center for your Portland Trailblazers.
My grandpa understood that Wally Pipp reference.
Wally.
All right.
People just start named Wally Pipp anymore. Born in 1892 was Wally Pipp.
In my day, you take 2 Wally Pipps and you go work in the field.
All right. My second recommendation for the week is Jose Alvarado, guard for the New Orleans Pelicans. 26% rostered on ESPN, 26% on Yahoo, 10% on ESPN. Alvarado has been a top 60 per game player over the past week. He's made 4 consecutive starts, all coincides with DeJounte Murray's season-ending Achilles injury. Alvarado has topped 40 fantasy points in back-to-back games. averaging 18 points, 4 rebounds, 8.5 assists, 2.5 steals, and 3.5 trays in 33 minutes per game over those 2 contests. He should be rostered in most standard 10-team leagues. He should have consistent value moving forward. Big steals guy. So if you need steals and assists, those are 2 categories he can certainly help with.
Yeah, we saw Alvarado do it earlier in the season, so I think we can be pretty confident that this can continue the rest of the season. My final pick, my long shot. I'm once again here to speak about my personal Lord and Savior, Day'Ron Sharpe.
You guys should just be roommates.
Yeah, there's someone every year, or every couple of years that I'm just like, can't quit him. Past 9 games for Day'Ron. We are on a first name basis. 9.7 points on 65% from the field. 6 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 1.8 stocks in 17 minutes per game. That's 24 fantasy points in 17 minutes a game over his past 9. On the season, averaging 1.2 fantasy points per minute. In the past 30 days, in the fantasy rankings category leagues, if you are punting threes, Day'Ron Sharpe ranks 144. If you're punting threes and assists, he ranks 94th. And if you basically have a rebound, steals, blocks, and percentages target, if you need the big man stats, he ranks 63rd over the past month. If you're in a 16,
what if we eliminated all categories?
If you eliminate all categories, you will have 1 fantasy. You can't lose if you don't play, Ken. He's good, shot. Man. 16 long. 5% rostered. If you're in a 16-team league, he is 100% worth rostering.
I'm going to play a little Debbie Downer here. Nick Claxton is finally playing like Nick Claxton's supposed to. I don't know if it'll last, but he's actually had kind of a nice 5-6 game run. It's taken forever. I don't know why, but
we'll see if that lasts. Honestly, who knows? Like, who knows what the Nets are doing? That's also part of it, right? Right. Oh, man. This is a fun time of year.
My long shot isn't really a long shot. It barely qualifies. I was trying to remember, what's our percentage management rule for long shot? I think
25. You're good.
So Caris LeVert is sitting right at 25% on Yahoo for now the Atlanta Hawks after that Hunter trade with the Cavs. Lots of minutes in Atlanta. But I think more importantly is 2 things. The Hawks lack a true point guard other than Trae Young. And with Jalen Johnson out for the season, the Hawks really lack a shot creator outside of Young. And LeVert can fill both of these roles. Early returns in 3 games with the Hawks are pretty strong. Almost 16 points, 7 boards, 3 assists a game. That's skewed a little by an overtime game against the Knicks. I think that was Wednesday. But LeVert's getting a lot of run. And this is a contract year for the 30-year-old LeVert. He's going to gun. I think he's going down swinging in Atlanta. Eyeing that 1 more NBA contract. So I look forward to LeVert just shooting far more than he should for these Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, I like LeVert too. I think he'll have, with you've got Vitz out now. Larry Nance is out. Jalen Johnson's out for the season. This team, they traded away DeAndre Hunter. They traded away Bogdanovic.
Mm-hmm.
They're very thin. And LeVert, for any warts that he does have, he's far better of an option than Terrence Mann and Garrison Matthews. So he should have a pretty significant role.
And Dyson Daniels
moving forward.
Dyson Daniels, great NBA player, but he's defense first. So if you're going to have him out there, you need somebody else gunning with Daniels in the backcourt.
Yep. All right. Final waiver wire recommendation of the week. My long shot, Karlo Matkovic, center for the Pelicans, 8% rostered on Yahoo, 1% on ESPN. Matkovic's seen his role increase for the Pelicans since the trade deadline. In the past 5 games, he has averaged 7.4 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 2.2 blocks in 24 minutes per game. As mentioned earlier, Yves Missi suffered a knee injury during Thursday's game against the King. That led to Matkovic starting the second half. Matkovic finished the game on Thursday with 13 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks in 27 minutes. TBD on Missy's injury status post All-Star break. It could be a very minor knee injury, and he'll be ready to go first game back. But Matkovic, you've got Zion sitting games for rest. The Pelicans are absolutely miserable. I think they're in last place in the Western Conference, right?
Yes.
Maybe in the entire NBA. Just brutal season. So Matkovic should see solid run, whether he's coming off the bench or gets some spot starts. I'm not worried about the lunch lady being ruled in. Olenek, we don't worry about him. He's not going to be a big part of this team. They're going to want to see what Matkovic has. And what one skill set that Matkovic hasn't really tapped into much yet is he can also hit 3-pointers. So we'll see some production there. I recall seeing him knock down a few open 3-pointers in the summer league. But the blocks are really the big thing. He's crazy. Per minute blocks this season have been insane. And that's only continued now that he is actually getting run. So if you need blocks, he is in deep leagues. He's definitely an option to consider.
I have a
That
selfish.
is.
Oh, go ahead, Alex. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say. I just had a snarky comment, Ken. That's all.
Bring it.
You know,
Bring it. People love the snark.
That's Adriatic League ABA November MVP Karlo Matkovic to you.
That's why you host this pod. That's not snark. That's insight. That is fabulous insight. Selfish question, Shannon. As I look at one of my squads, would you drop Najee Marshall for Karlo?
Am I in the league with you?
No. This is my grad school league.
I'm keeping Marshall for right now, unless I desperately need blocks in that league. I'm keeping Marshall because until that Mavs front court starts to get healthy, he should be good for 28 to 32 minutes per game.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, sir. Well, Shannon, let's stick with you. Can you tell us about our good friends at Edge Boost?
Have you ever had your debit card declined or had to go to the bank? Go call your bank at 3 a.m. in Vegas? Yes, I wasn't at the casino when that happened to me. Edge Boost is the first consumer-facing online bank dedicated to the gaming industry. There are numerous benefits to using Edge Boost. $250K per day in debit deposits, unlimited withdrawals, cash back on sports betting, DFS, sweeps, 100% approval for all of your gaming activity, financial segmentation for discretion and responsible gaming, compatible today for prediction markets, iCasino, DFS, sports betting, lottery, brick and mortar casinos, horse racing, and sweeps. No transaction reviews or account freezes. Visit EdgeBoost today. EdgeBoost.bet today and use promo code ROTOPOD, ROTOPOD. That's promo code ROTOPOD. Visit edgeboost.bet today.
That's promo code ROTOPOD. Alex, what's happening to our DFS section?
No DFS section because there are no games today, Ken.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, I'm not. I haven't even looked at the Rising Stars slate yet. Sorry, folks.
Some inside baseball. I had to set expected lineups for the All-Star games, and I had to predict what Rising Stars team would win. And play in the actual, play the winning team of the Rising Stars bracket and play the All-Star games. And I picked the Thompson twins team. So there you go, Shannon. Asar Thompson represented, hopefully, in the All-Star game against, I don't remember what team they would be playing, but they will be playing potentially a team in what is the All-Star games.
Did they do this like 3 Rising Star team to make sure the Rising Star team wasn't good enough to possibly beat an All-Star team? Because the kids will probably care more than the old guys.
It's a good question, but why
not have the best Rising Stars as the 4th team, right? And load it up with as many first and second year players that are the best.
Yeah. We'll see. I think that's the only response I could really give to this whole situation. Is
insightful.
we will certainly see. All right, Ken. Let's go to your old man rant.
Arg! End the All-Star game. A 4-team or even 7-team tournament. Are you kidding me? Isn't the cup tourney foolish enough? Now we need an all-star game tournament. I have to watch no defense being played over multiple games. No, thank you. And if my Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown get injured, I'm going to be very mad. All-star games were invented when sports were struggling to get national TV contracts. Now every minute of every game is streamed over 15 or so different web services, most of which I can't figure out. The All-Star Game PR stunt started in Boston in 1951. It is no longer needed. End it. Arg! By the way, Boston Celtic Easy Ed Macaulay was named the first NBA All-Star Game MVP back in 1951. Ed was a 3-time All-NBA player and was part of the trade that brought Bill Russell to the Hall of Fame legend Bill Russell to the Boston Celtics. Easy Ed made the Hall of Fame in 1960, and in 1989, Macaulay was ordained a deacon of the Catholic Church with Father Francis Friedel. Easy Ed and Father Francis co-authored the book Homilies Alive, creating homilies that hit home. Thank you, Easy Ed and Wikipedia.
I have next year's Christmas gift for you. This is also the second.
I really hope he goes as Easy Ed on the cover of that book.
This is also the second reference to somebody born during or before the Great Depression on this podcast. Oh man, this is the All-Star Break pod. This is really what's happening. We also had a mispronounced name today, Ken. Exhume.
Yeah, the zombie.
Yeah,
Dante the zombie.
Exhumed from international basketball back into the NBA.
Pretty sure. I mean, I know he's a saucy Aussie. I've been making that mistake really since he was drafted. And hesitated today, and yet went for it. And it's once again wrong. Dante. I should just say Dante. There's no other Dantes in the NBA, right?
It's only been 10 years since he was drafted.
He did have a year overseas, though.
A couple, I think. Yeah. 2 years overseas.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. It is presented by Edge Boost and Pool Genius and us, RotoWire.com/pod for the free look behind our paywall. We have a ton of baseball content out right now. Some elite paywalled top secret
some FSGA and
poems.
FSWA nominated baseball content.
Yes,
I believe
FSWA nominated baseball writers are opening their secret tomes, but you must do a 2-day free trial at rotowire.com/pod to discover this information. That just takes us to the end of the podcast. Ken, give us a quote and get us out of here.
Let's go to 2022 when coach and TV analyst Jeff Van Gundy said this about the NBA All-Star Game. Quote, I frankly think the NBA All-Star Game has run its course. The whole dunk contest, the game. If those guys actually play hard in that game, it'd be the best watch ever. End quote. Thank you, Coach Van Gundy. Attention passengers. This 3-car fantasy train wreck has hit the end of the line.